Welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. And today, man, we got some breaking news, man, coming out of Cleveland, man. Rappot reports that Shedeur Sanders will see NFL football field this season as QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. But we're going to unpack all that here next here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, we got a developing story going on out there in Cleveland, man. Everybody knows Rappot. He always drops bombshells for the NFL. And we know the Cleveland Browns have a quarterback situation that they're trying to sift through. And we know that they moved on from Joe Flacco, benched Joe Flacco. Now Joe Flacco is the QB2, the backup to Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel is the starting quarterback. Dillon Gabriel played against the Minnesota Vikings this weekend, and the Cleveland Browns came up short. Dillon Gabriel threw 2 touchdown passes, 19 to 33, 190 yards. He protected the ball. He got sacked twice, but it was a lot of methodical things as the dip and dunk. Keyshawn Judkins, the running back, and he had over 100 yards rushing. He had 1 called back for holding. And basically, Keyshawn Judkins was basically the offense outside of David Njoku, the tight end, which Dillon Gabriel hit him for a few passes, six catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. But everything else outside of Njoku and Keyshawn Judkins, where was the offense at? Wide receivers didn't get involved. Jerry Jeudy, their big playmaker, didn't get involved. It seemed like Dillon Gabriel couldn't stretch the ball down the field. He couldn't get the ball down the field. Everything was a quick rollout, hit the running back coming out of the backfield. The first touchdown, 2-yard pass to Fannin Jr. for a touchdown down in the red zone. But Dillon Gabriel missed a lot of opportunities downfield, throwing balls high, throwing balls out of bounds, and just wasn't able to push the ball down the field. Everything was dip and dunk, and it seemed like Kevin Stefanski's offense was protecting Dillon Gabriel at the time. Now, Rappot, he dropped a bombshell. He said that Shedeur Sanders is going to hit the field as quarterback 1 for the Cleveland Browns this year. And you won't believe what he said. But before we get off into that, we partner with Underdog Fantasy, and this is a word from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry. Get every pick right and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us. And thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy.
Well, guys, with that being said, before we listen to what Rappot said, I do want to give a shout out to 92.3 The Fan out there in Cleveland, because they said some things that are very interesting as the media and the Cleveland personnel are trying to take credit and change the narrative for grooming and developing Shedeur Sanders before he hits the field as QB1. And they said a lot of interesting things that make you believe that this is diabolical. But we're going to listen to Rappot, and then we're going to listen to what these two guys said on 92.3 The Fan out there in Cleveland. Take a listen to Ian Rappaport.
Hotly debated questions. When will Shedeur Sanders play? Shedeur, by the way, the number 3 quarterback for the Browns today. More on that in a second. My understanding, though, Sanders is expected to play this season, just not right now. He is not ready to be on the field yet. Likely late this season. Now, behind the scenes, every day at practice, they're adding a segment for him to learn, to develop. My understanding is his development is happening behind the scenes. As far as why he is not the backup, the Browns want him to be successful. So when he takes the field, they want it to be with a game plan designed for him. They want him to have a full week of practice before he goes out there. So much of this year for the Browns is about evaluations at the quarterback position. That does include Shedeur eventually.
Now, you heard what Ian Rappaport said. He said he's behind the scenes and he know what's going on behind closed doors with the Cleveland Browns. Now let's take a listen to what 92.3 The Fan had to say, as they are saying it's all smoke and mirrors. It is a narrative that the Cleveland Browns are trying to change. Take a listen.
Big things we heard over this weekend was the report about Shedeur Sanders, where it started with Ian Rappaport, a big kind of exclusive saying that the Browns are preparing for Shedeur to play at some point this year. I just quickly want to touch on the Mimegate thing, where I still think it's the most overplayed, ridiculous story, and the reaction to it on both sides were crazy to me. Like, there was just nothing measured about that conversation. It was just a lot of people yelling at each other online. The funniest conspiracy theory I had about it, though, was that Shedeur was taking the Browns literally. That the Browns told Shedeur, we don't want you talking about this. Just say no comment or just say I'm happy for Dylan. And then that maybe he took them literally. So here's the verbiage in the Ian Rappaport piece. Sources say Sanders had a discussion with team officials that his approach to the media session was a message that got lost in translation. So basically, they said, don't say a word about it. And he's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to pantomime talking. How can we not? That's funny. That is very, very funny.
It's funny. It's also funny that they got Rappaport to even report on that.
Yes.
That's the funnier side of things.
Well, and so every part about this was very much there was no way this wasn't leaked from the Browns.
Yeah.
Like, every part that you read about this screamed. It wasn't an agent. It wasn't Shedeur himself. It wasn't Dion. It was clear that this was made from the Browns, and I do think that's what's interesting about this, is because I think any time the Browns leak any report about Shedeur, it ends up backfiring, even if it's a well-intentioned one like this, which is to tell Shedeur fans, hey, we're going to play your guy at some point this year. Just be patient.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of people think like myself. It's like, yeah, Jimmy Haslam already told us he was going to play this year. You know, like if you just listen to Jimmy Haslam, we'd have both quarterbacks be playing. I know in the past couple weeks, though, I became a little bit more hesitant to the idea that he actually would see the field, because there just became a part of me that wondered if they were just going to, I honestly didn't know that they'd move away from Flacco as early as they did, even though I kept telling everyone after 4 weeks is when they had to like actually figure that out. I just didn't know that they'd actually do it. It's what I would do. I was surprised they actually did it. But with this, the part that got me was in this report, Rap Sheet talks about how his development is happening every day, and while we had a long way to go upon arriving as a 5th-round draft pick from Colorado, Sanders has worked and he's learned. They're trying to rewrite that initial narrative that was out there, that basically Shedeur is wasting everyone's time. And the only part that gets me a little angry is that you took a quarterback in the 5th round. You're going to tell everyone that he's just a 5th-round quarterback, and you're going to then try to get all the credit for how he looks once he plays. That's the part that bothers me the most. It's a sleight of hand that I knew was coming from a million miles away, and it's going to paint them to be the savior of this quarterback that didn't actually need saving.
It's also the Eric Andre shooting the guest and being like, who could do this? Like, oh, hey, we're going to try and rewrite that narrative that we ourselves
created,
propagated,
the calls coming from inside the house, guys.
And like, here's the thing: they didn't create the pre-draft narrative; they created the post-draft narrative on Shedeur, which was insulting, trying to act like there was a massive difference between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders when both guys were incredibly experienced college quarterbacks. And Shedeur actually fits Kevin Stefanski better than even Dylan does.
It's one of the reasons why we first, at least I first started championing for Shedeur Sanders is because he fits Stefanski and the connections that are there, even between his OC and everything else that was there at Colorado. But it is wild to me how they're going to try to spin this in such a way to make it seem like they fixed Shedeur Sanders when I'm never going to look at it that way.
So now you heard what these guys had to say, man, and they basically expose the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, Jimmy Haslam, and Andrew Berry. They are trying to create and change the narrative that they are developing Shedeur Sanders, and they're going to take all the credit for Shedeur Sanders looking real great when he steps on an NFL football field for the Cleveland Browns. That's what they try to do. And guys, if you paid attention to what these guys were saying, it makes a lot of sense, man. And for Ian Rappaport to drop that bombshell and say that he's behind the scenes and he knows information that a lot of people don't know, that basically the Cleveland Browns organization is telling Ian Rappaport, just be patient. Shedeur Sanders is going to hit the NFL field as our QB1 this year. And then for the media in 92.3 The Fan to call out and pick up some of the things that Ian Rappaport was saying and to exploit it and to expose the Cleveland Browns organization, that is diabolical. They are going to try to change the narrative and take all the credit for what Shedeur Sanders looks like when he goes out there and balls out. Cleveland Browns organization, they are diabolical. And I'm glad that 92.3 The Fan picked up on that and exposed the Cleveland Browns organization. Y'all guys get down in the comments section. I want to hear from you guys on this one, man. Watch the video all the way through. Pay close attention to what these guys said. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh, yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.